You're not lacking confidence. You're just too good at living like a coward. No one says this to your face because they're afraid of hurting your feelings. But you need to hear it. You don't dare speak your mind. You don't dare look people in the eye. You walk into a room trying not to be noticed. Not because you're humble, but because you're afraid someone might see right through you, that there's nothing special inside. You move through life like a shadow, apologizing for your own existence. You hide behind excuses like, I'm an introvert, I've been hurt before, I'm not good at socializing, to cover up the cowardice that's rooted deep in your mind. If hearing this stings, good, it means there's still a shred of self-respect left in you. Keep watching this video. I'm going to show you 7 brutal truths to smash your insecurity and build unshakable confidence. And if you're still a man, don't miss this. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and like if you're new here. It helps me keep bringing you more valuable content. How many years have you wasted avoiding pain? How many broken relationships did you blame on others when you never faced the wounds inside yourself? How many chances did you turn down just because they scared you? How many times did you force a smile, step back, or stay silent just to avoid feeling shame, anxiety, or hurt? Pain doesn't destroy you. What destroys you is running from it your whole damn life. You think dodging negative emotions protects you. But every time you turn away, you're stripping off a layer of your strength. Every time you choose comfort, you're trading a piece of your mental toughness that should have been yours. Stoics don't wish for a painless life. They only wish to become strong enough to endure it and forge their will through fire. Because to them, pain isn't abnormal. It's the signal that you're living right, that you're stretching beyond the rotten comfort zone that's trapped you for years. You fear rejection because deep down, you're not convinced you're worthy. You fear getting hurt because you've handed your entire sense of value to others. You fear making mistakes, failing, being seen as imperfect. But that fear is exactly what's keeping you stuck at the bottom. If you want real confidence, stop treating yourself like some fragile child. Quit demanding that everything feels stable, that people understand you, that life be gentler. That's a fantasy. Life isn't soft on the weak, and it has no obligation to be. If you want to be strong, you have to walk straight into pain. Not to prove anything to anyone else, but to prove to yourself that you're done being the guy who runs. You might shake, you might feel overwhelmed, but you act anyway. That's the beginning of confidence. Not being fearless, but taking action even when you are afraid. I'm not telling you to recklessly charge into chaos, but you do have to create collisions. You have to face pressure. Just like muscle only grows when it's pushed to its limit, your mind only grows when it's stretched past what's comfortable. Every day, do something that makes you uncomfortable. A conversation you've been avoiding, a decision you keep postponing, a challenge you know is necessary, but keep telling yourself, not yet. Do it now. You don't need to feel ready. You never will. No one ever does. Strength doesn't come from theory. It comes from moments you get wrecked and still stand back up. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding mistakes. It comes from making 100 of them and not letting a single one define who you are. If you want unshakable confidence, accept that pain is your companion, not your enemy. There's no other way. No shortcuts. Freedom only comes when you take responsibility for your own suffering. And when you do, no one can control you with fear anymore. And when you finally get there, you'll realize it's not that you lack confidence, you just never really tried living like a grown man. You can't build confidence if you can't keep promises to yourself. All the motivation you chase, all the respect you hope to earn from others, it's all worthless if you betray yourself every day and feel no shame for it. And the painful truth is, that's exactly what you've been doing. Every single day. You say you'll wake up early, but when the alarm rings, you hit snooze and stay in bed like a kid who doesn't want to go to school. You say you'll work out, but then you claim you're tired, busy, haven't eaten yet, and end up curled on the couch with junk food. You say you'll learn a new skill, start a new project, make a change, but you keep preparing a little more and never actually begin. And you think that doesn't matter because no one knows. But one person does. You. Every time you promise yourself something and don't do it, you're reminding yourself that your word means nothing. And then you wonder why you lack confidence out in the world. Because deep down, you know, if you don't even believe you, why should anyone else? If you can't follow through on your own commitments, what have you done to earn anyone's attention or respect? Self-discipline is the root of self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of confidence. That's a link that can't be broken. You can't keep living loosely with yourself and expect to tap into inner strength. You can't always do what feels good and hope to live a life of power, stability, and courage. Modern society tells you to love yourself, and yes, you should. But loving yourself isn't about allowing every indulgence. Loving yourself means setting boundaries and forcing yourself to follow discipline because you know what's good for you in the long run. That's love with a spine, not self-destructive comfort. The Stoics understood this. They didn't wait for the right feelings before acting. They acted as if action was a non-negotiable responsibility. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "When morning calls you from your bed, don't complain. Remind yourself you were born to do what's right, not to lie curled up in comfort." The right thing rarely feels good, but that's why doing it makes you grow. Your problem isn't lack of talent. Your problem is you're too soft on yourself. You always allow delays. You always give yourself just one day off. You keep stepping back and then again until there's no more progress to speak of. You're living by negotiating with yourself. But strength doesn't bargain. Strength comes when you give yourself orders and follow them even when you don't feel like it. Start simple. Pick one small discipline and repeat it every day, no matter your mood. Wake up on time, do 30 sit-ups, write 100 words, read 5 pages. The key isn't the size of the act, it's that you stop letting feelings steer you. Every time you do the right thing despite not wanting to, you rebuild your inner credibility. That's something no one can give you, and no one can take away. Self-discipline isn't about forcing yourself to suffer. It's about owning yourself before the world forces you to. If you can't control your cravings, your fear, your laziness, then you'll be controlled by regret, debt, failure, and shame. There is no neutral ground. One of those two will happen. You choose. Confidence doesn't come from applause or praise. It comes from a long process of proving to yourself that you are someone worth trusting. And that starts with every time you say no, to delay, to comfort, to indulgence. No is a hard word, but it's the first brick in building a life you can be proud of. So from tomorrow, no, from today, start by keeping one small promise to yourself. Follow it through. No excuses, no sugarcoating, no compromise. And when you do, don't celebrate. Don't post about it. Just quietly say, "This time, I didn't betray myself." Repeat that every day. And one day, you'll wake up, look in the mirror, and see a man who doesn't need to fake strength, because he's become it. One of the greatest tragedies in life is living to be liked by others. You don't speak your truth because you're afraid to offend. You won't step outside your comfort zone for fear of judgment. You don't pursue what you really want because you're afraid of being laughed at. And so, you become a version of yourself that's been edited to fit the world, but completely unrecognizable to your own soul. You want confidence? Then understand this. As long as you live to please others, you will never be yourself. And as long as you're not being yourself, your confidence is just a mask. It's not real. It's a performance. You're trapped in an invisible prison you built for yourself. Every time you think about speaking up, you scan the room to see what others might think. Every time you want to show who you are, you hold back to make sure no one gets uncomfortable. Slowly, you shrink, you fade, you fall silent. Worst of all, you start to believe that this is just who you are, that you were born shy, unremarkable, uncharismatic. But that's not true. You've just lived so long hunched over that you forgot you once knew how to stand tall. The Stoics teach this. If you depend on other people's approval, you are a slave. Even if you have money, status, fame, if your sense of worth hinges on validation from others, then your fate is not your own. They praise you, you're happy. They criticize you, you crumble. That's not confidence. That's a life on loan. borrowed from someone else's opinion. Inner freedom begins the moment you stop waiting for permission to be yourself. You don't need consensus to live with integrity. You don't need applause to know you're on the right path. Real confidence isn't found in the gaze of others. It's born in the silence within, where you can stand firm in your choices with no audience at all. I'm not saying you should become cold, isolated, or rebellious, but you must have a spiritual backbone strong enough to stand for what's right, even when it's unpopular. Ask anyone who's ever built something meaningful. They were laughed at, they were misunderstood, they were alone. But that solitude forged a character no public opinion could shape. You need to stop chasing validation, because no one else is qualified to validate you but you. Other people don't live your life. They don't wake up with your dreams, your fears, your responsibilities. So why hand them the keys to your destiny? In truth, if you're honest with yourself, you'll see. No one's thinking about you as much as you think. They're too wrapped up in their own insecurities. They're performing too. They're afraid too. In a world full of masks, the man who dares to be real silences the room. You don't need to be reckless, but you do need to stop asking for permission. Don't ask for permission to be strong. Don't ask to be different. Don't ask to chase what you know is right. Just do it. Just say it. Just show up as you are, liked or not. Because the truth is, people only truly respect you when you don't need their respect. When you stand there, bare and solid, no flattery, no performance, no over-apologizing, that's when you no longer need saving, because you've already freed yourself. You want real confidence? Cut the cord that ties you to the opinions of others. Stop living by permission. Stop waiting to be validated. Stop dodging your difference, and instead, become the man you can look at in the mirror and respect, even if the world turns its back. No one's coming to rescue you from your own insignificance. But you can light your own fire, starting with this decision. From now on, I don't need to be accepted. I choose myself. This isn't just a video. This is the reminder you needed today. Hit subscribe and like if you want someone in your corner pushing you to live by your real values. Stop for a minute and be honest with yourself. How long has it been since you were truly alone? With your own thoughts, without grabbing your phone, opening YouTube, scrolling social media, or listening to a podcast? How long since you sat in silence and faced the mind that's been buried under the noise of the world? You're afraid of silence, aren't you? Because in silence, your real thoughts surface. The things you've been avoiding come back loud and clear. Your disappointment in yourself, the dreams you've abandoned, the promises you've broken, the fears you've masked with fake busyness. Your mind is not okay, and you know it, but you've been covering it up with a fast-paced life. Information, entertainment, laughter, memes, drama, inspirational content. You can't sit still, because stillness makes you feel empty, useless, weak. But if you're constantly running away from yourself, are you really living or slowly erasing your existence? The Stoics understood that confidence cannot be built on a chaotic mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journals every night, not to document events, but to purge his thoughts. Because he knew, if you don't control your thoughts, they'll control you. And most of your thoughts aren't even yours. They come from the crowd, from media, from old wounds, from opinions someone threw at you 10 years ago that you never let go. If you don't sit down, go silent, and clean up your mind, then you're trying to build a castle on a junkyard. You can't. No one feels confident when their mind is a tangled mess of fake versus real, what they want versus what others want, what matters versus what's meaningless. You want to build real confidence? Then learn to sit in silence, not to meditate in a trendy way with crossed legs waiting for a miracle, but to face yourself. Observe. Take inventory. Ask the hard questions. What am I afraid of? What am I avoiding? What emotion is ruling me that I haven't had the guts to name? Silence isn't the absence of noise. It's the full presence of yourself in your own mind, without being pulled by anything outside. And here's the surprise. In silence, you start to hear your real voice, not the echo of the world. In silence, you begin to sort through the clutter. And that's where inner structure is built, the kind that doesn't shake in the wind of public opinion, headlines, or collective fear. The strongest people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who can sit in silence, hear their own voice, and not panic. They're the ones who don't need a committee to make a decision. The ones who can endure solitude without turning into attention seekers. You don't need to shut off your phone for a week or go off to a monastery. Just 10 minutes each morning. No music, no podcasts, no one else. Just you and a sheet of paper. Write down your thoughts. They don't need to be good, they don't need to be right. They just need to be real. This is how you stare into the chaos within and begin to organize it. This is how you stop fearing your own mind. And something strange will happen. The quieter you become, the more grounded you feel. The simpler your thoughts, the clearer your actions. The less noise inside, the stronger you stand against the noise outside. Confidence doesn't come from being charged up by the outside world. It comes from the safety you feel when living inside your own mind. And you'll never have that safety if you keep trying to drown out the silence. So if you want to start taking control of your life, start by taking control of your mind. You don't need anyone else. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need the courage to turn the world off and sit face to face with yourself. In a world where everyone is speaking, shouting, rushing to be seen, the one who can sit still is the one who's winning, and maybe the only one who's truly free. If you're waiting to feel confident before you start taking action, I've got bad news for you. You'll be waiting until the day you die. That feeling isn't coming, ever, because you've got the natural order reversed. Confidence doesn't come before action. It is the result of action. Think back to the last time you did something that scared the hell out of you. A presentation, standing up for your opinion, saying something you truly believed. At first, you were shaking, doubting yourself, wanting to back out. But once it was over, what did you feel? Confidence, pride, that rush of energy running up your spine. I did it. There's no motivation stronger than the moment you face your fear and survive. But to get there, you have to act before you feel ready. You have to learn to play the role of a confident man, even when inside, you're a panicked kid screaming to run. That's not pretending. That's training. Like a warrior who hasn't seen battle yet, you don't know how strong you are until your sword is out of the sheath. Don't get it twisted. You don't need to fake being perfect. You just need to behave as if you belong there. Not because you're sure you'll win, but because you've made a decision not to run anymore. Real confidence isn't knowing everything. It's stepping into the unknown and saying, I'll figure it out. I'll own it. And I don't need anyone's permission to exist here. Stoics didn't just talk about action, they lived it. To them, virtue wasn't a feeling, it was what you demonstrated through your behavior. If you want confidence, do what a confident man would do, even if your insides are still catching up. Walk into the room and start a conversation. Make the call and say what needs to be said. Make the decision. Ask the question. Stand up and speak out. Not because you know you'll succeed, but because that's what the man you want to become would do. And every time you do it, a little more of that man starts to show up in you. Here's a truth most won't like. You are not who you feel you are how you act. If you act weak, it doesn't matter how many books on strength you've read. You're still weak. But if you start behaving like someone brave, even while scared, then step by step, act by act, decision by decision, that courage gets etched into your character. Your problem is you're waiting for someone to say, okay, now you're good enough to act. No one's coming. There's no medal for being ready. No miracle moment that makes you confident overnight. There are only days where you move through fear and don't stop. You don't wait for confidence. You build it through every action, every choice, every time you stare down the urge to quit and say, screw it, I'm doing it anyway. Ask yourself, if today you acted as if you already had confidence, what would you do? Who would you call? What would you turn down? What would you chase? What truth would you finally say out loud? Write it down. Then do one of those things today. No emotion needed, just action, because that's how you rewrite the truth of who you are. Confidence isn't something you find in books, courses, or motivation videos. It's something you prove to yourself daily by acting like the man you want to become. And if you repeat that long enough, you won't have to pretend to be confident anymore. You'll be him. Every time you fail, what do? Blame someone? Avoid it? Make excuses? Or worse, label yourself. I'm not cut out for this. I'm not good enough. I wasn't born to do big things. And just like that, you retreat. You shrink your dream. You call it being realistic, mature, safe. But deep down, you know, it's just your excuse for a hard truth. You gave up too soon. It's not failure that kills confidence. It's how you look at it. The Stoics didn't fear failure. They expected it. They built it into the plan because they knew the only thing you learn from success is illusion. But in failure, real failure, you learn everything you need to become unbreakable. The problem is, you were taught from a young age that failure is shameful. A bad grade means you're dumb. Rejection means you're worthless. Not reaching a goal means you're not good enough. But you've been lied to. The people you admire most aren't the ones who failed less. They're the ones who turned failure into fuel, not shackles. You don't need to avoid failure. You need to change your response to it. When weak men fail, they collapse and start telling a story about how they're victims. When strong men fail, they take notes, sharpen the blade, and return to the battlefield. Not to get revenge, but to reclaim self-respect. Want real confidence? Then treat failure like hunger. But not the kind that makes you desperate, the kind that makes you dangerous. When you slip, ask, where did I mess up? What did I miss? What lesson is hidden in this fall that no book could have taught me? Write it down, stare it in the face, swallow it. Don't make excuses. Don't blame timing. Don't hide behind personality. Because every time you say, I'm just not that kind of person, you're locking yourself in a box you built and then wondering why your life hasn't changed. You're not weak because you failed. You're weak because you let it define you. You carry labels like college dropout, got fired, bad at speaking, got rejected. But if you're still breathing, all those labels are temporary, and you have the right to rip them off. With action, with hunger, with the decision that your failure won't be meaningless. Failure is never the enemy. Paralysis after failure is what's killing you. The fear of being hurt again keeps you from trying. The shame keeps you silent. The doubt makes you wonder if you're even meant for this. But all those fears have one cure. Take action again. This time, do it with hunger in your gut. Not to prove anything to the world, but to prove something to yourself. You didn't die from falling once. Think back to any recent failure. Doesn't have to be big. A rejected job interview, a failed confession, a half-baked project, a broken promise. Stop running from it. Write it down, dissect it, and act again. But this time, with the lesson in hand and the mindset of someone who refuses to stay down. Confidence doesn't come from a streak of wins. It comes from unshakable resilience. From looking failure in the eye and saying, thank you, you made me sharper. Then moving forward, still wounded, but with your head held high. How many times you failed doesn't matter. What matters is this: what will you do the next time? Stop waiting for inspiration. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the right mood. If you still rely on emotion to act, then you're not in control of your life. You're just being dragged behind it. Confidence doesn't come from the days you feel fired up. It comes from the days you're bored, tired, sleep-deprived, and want to run away. But you act anyway. No complaints, no drama, no need for the world to know you're trying. You simply do what must be done. You've been lied to by modern society. They tell you to do what makes you happy. They tell you to listen to your emotions. They say you should rest when you're burnt out. They say you shouldn't push yourself. Sounds nice, but look around. How many people following that advice are still stuck, depressed, aimless, lost? Emotions are information, but they are not commands. Only the weak let emotions steer them. The strong acknowledge emotion, but act on principle. The Stoics knew this. They didn't deny emotions. They simply refused to be ruled by them. Epictetus said, "The man who acts from emotion is like a dog tied to a moving cart. He's moving forward, but only because he's being dragged, not because he chose." So what about you? Are you the driver or the dog? Every day you face this choice. Will you act because you know what's right, or only when you feel like it? Trust me, the most important things in your life will rarely show up with pleasant feelings. Working out, studying, starting, confronting, rejecting, rising, they're all hard. That's why they matter. Think successful people are always fired up? Wrong. They just refuse to let emotion decide for them. They finished that book while tired. They ran that mile in the rain. They faced failure while terrified. They didn't act because they felt inspired. They acted to be worthy. If you're waiting for motivation, you're announcing to the world that you're passive. You're telling life, I'll only move when it's easy. And life, already indifferent, won't bother with someone like that. You need to rebuild your relationship with emotion. Stop obeying it. Start observing it. Realize emotion is just a wave. It comes and goes. But your actions create real consequences. In confidence, self-respect, grit, none of it is born from what you think. It's forged from what you do, no matter what you think. Pick one task you've been putting off all week. Writing that email, making that call, training, writing, learning something. Whatever it is, do it with zero motivation. Then look at the outcome. You'll notice something strange. Good feelings often follow right action. They never lead it. Next time you catch yourself saying, I don't feel ready, cut yourself off. Act anyway, even if you're lazy, even if you're scared, even if you're unsure. Every time you do that, you rewrite your own operating system, from someone driven by emotion to someone leading themselves. That's when real confidence forms. No big declarations, no spotlight. Just one person, silent, steady, doing what's right consistently, no matter the weather inside their heart. This world doesn't reward those who know what's right. It rewards those who do what's right, regardless of how they feel. Thank you for being here. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, turn on notifications, and like this video. Don't forget to leave a comment so we can spread positivity together.